James Hearn, tell me, when we're talking about bathrooms, I wanted an expert. So why should we be talking to someone like you? Give us a little bit of your backstory and what it is that you do around that side of things.
So we've been doing bathrooms since 2012. We do about 65 bathrooms a year,
right?
Through all the way from Bacchus Marsh to Ballarat out to Macedon. Mm-hmm. So we cover quite a large range of area.
Yeah,
with 4 different teams. So one of the reasons we started doing bathrooms is because it was one of those neglected areas in your house. So often you overlook it, you leave mould and all that sort of stuff in the area. So with our service, obviously we walk through with our customers on what the issue is, how to address it, and where you should be heading. And we offer designs and consultations with that.
Okay.
The reason why we got into it was because it's a health issue, it's neglect, and it also gives you like an escape pretty much. So as if you go into your bathroom, it's a retreat. It's one of those areas you wake up to, you spend the most time in. You go in the morning, you brush your teeth. You go to bed, you brush your teeth, you have a shower, you go to bed. You don't want to go somewhere gloomy and dark every day.
Yep.
It's not going to help with your attitude for the day.
Yep.
Either. So that's why it was an area that we focus on.
Obviously, it's an important part of the real estate landscape, and the people that are going to tune into this are interested from a real estate perspective. There's some things that we'll drill into that will help give the listeners and the viewers a bit of an idea of why it's important to speak to people like yourself. What skill sets, what sort of background do you have in this space, and how long have you been doing it now?
So over 13 years we've been doing this, and when you're looking at getting someone in to do a renovation or bathroom renovation, obviously you're looking for a licensed builder.
Right.
So in Victoria, anything over $16,000 and it is domestic building insurance, you need to have it, but anything over $10,000, you need to have a licensed builder. So whether they're limited or fully licensed, you need to go down that pathway.
Okay.
When it comes to the bathrooms, because you're dealing with a multiple broad, you need to have a licensed builder, waterproofer, tiler, plumber, all those license and compliance certificates.
Gotcha.
Not just for as a owner of the house, but also for selling the house. Because when you go to sell your house, the conveyance is going to ask.
We will touch on that because these are important things that have come up a number of times for us, and I'm sure other real estate agents have experienced the same sort of thing. So I'd like to explore that a little bit further. At what sort of stage do you think people should start thinking about renovating a bathroom?
Yeah. So when it comes to renovating your bathroom, probably there's a few signs you got to keep an eye out for, really. So number one is always mould. So if you've got mould coming through the grout, or you've got mould growing outside of the shower area, that's a concern. Mould on your ceiling, that's a concern. It's going to affect your health. Second thing is soft spots on like the right and left side of your showers. It means your shower's leaking internally. So the waterproofing or the way it's been done has actually failed.
Yeah.
And your plaster starts to get soft on the right and left side of your polymarble shower bases. The second reason is if the age of the house. So if your house is 20 years older, I'd probably start looking at it.
Okay.
Timber framed houses, so subfloor houses rather than slabs, are more of a concern because the water damage can cause quite a lot more money, excess costs.
Yeah.
So then you're replacing the floor, you're replacing the floor joist, and your house will start to shift up and down.
Okay.
So it's important to notice the cracks in the room, the grout, the colour, and just obviously if there's a weird smell in the room, definitely worth having someone look at it.
Okay. So the age, the 20-year mark is kind of a benchmark that people should consider. Every asset structure of sorts needs maintenance over time. Like you can't just let things go and then expect, that it's going to be, it's going to perform for you at the same as what it was when it was first constructed, for example. So, but things can accelerate that, I imagine. So what are some of you mentioned mold outside the shower, circle. What is it that's causing that? Is that a ventilation thing or a moisture thing? What are the key things that potentially is happening there?
Can be a few things. So ventilation's a big key, having an exhaust fan and actually running the exhaust fan 15 minutes after you're finishing a shower.
Right.
Not just turning it off when you get out. That's a big thing that people get confused about. Like the exhaust fan needs to, sorry, we'll do it. We had to put a switch in my house just so it ran while I showered.
Okay.
It's one of those frustrating points.
Yeah.
But also the grout's porous. So water can go in there. If you don't clean it and you just scrub the surface, the grout goes behind the tiles. It's then in the grout, and then it'll grow out.
Okay.
So the reason why mold grows is because there's humidity, there's water, and there's moisture. If you can stop the moisture by as simple as cleaning the grout and applying grout sealer, that'll give you a bit longer before you have to spend and go to that next step.
Okay. There's some things that have changed about bathroom requirements around doing bathrooms that I noticed. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit as well. When it comes time to do a bathroom, how far do you need to go? Like, and I know this is probably a difficult question to answer because I think the answer is depends, doesn't it? But what would you recommend the owner of a property does when they look at their renovating a bathroom? Okay, take us for example. So we've got an ensuite. Was probably updated, I don't know, maybe what was over 12 years ago, because that's how we've been there. So what sort of level, because we look at it and go, look, it's okay, but it's got the marble, shower basin. So what should we be thinking about in terms of upgrade? How far should we take it, do you think?
12 years old, I wouldn't be stressing that much, but what I would be focusing on for a 12-year-old bathroom would be, I'd be checking the silicone and the grout joints in the corners. So generally the silicone and that should be redone every 5-6 years. Commercially, it's done every year in a bathroom.
Okay.
So the silicone expands and contracts.
So let's just go back on that for 2 seconds. So every 5 years,
you should recork.
You should recork the tiles of the silicone that's around the base and so forth.
Yep.
Okay.
Up the base, up the corners, and through the niches. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Okay. And I'll bet you the majority of us out there don't even think about that sort of stuff.
A lot of people do overlook it, but it's all about the wear and tear of the room. That's your fail point.
Okay.
So the next one I'd be looking at for your age, I'd be putting on grout sealer on the grout, cleaning it and sealing that grout. You should apply that every couple of years as well.
Okay.
Just stops the water from seeping through the grout, and it's going to make it last at least 20 years.
Okay.
When it comes to trying to figure out whether you should do a bathroom renovation or whether you can just do the shower, it really depends on the subframe. So if you're on stumps or if you're on concrete, you can get away sometimes with just doing like a poly marble shower base. And just the shower area if it doesn't adjoin anything else. So like the other day we were having a conversation, it was a bathtub and the shower adjoined. You've now got to waterproof the bath hob.
Right. Okay.
It's a painful situation. So where if the bath's separate from the shower and they're not adjoining in any way, tiling wise, you can just get away with doing the shower area and upgrading the fixtures in the room.
Okay. The process for a homeowner, let's talk through, I guess, I say, okay, James, can I get you out to have a look at our bathroom and perhaps give us an idea of what we would need to do? Do you encourage people to do all their research on things like the tiles that they're thinking of using and all the bath or the shower screens and so on? Or is that something that you can take them through? So talk me through, I guess, what would be the ideal scenario?
So our process, we always encourage you to have a look at Pinterest, Instagram and all that. It's good to have a vision. So what happens when we walk through, we will work with the room you've got and the designs that you're wanting. So we're not going to change unless you're going to change the whole house. So it'll either the bathroom generally suits the house, so it doesn't make the rest of the house look old. You don't want a modern bathroom in a 70s house. It's not great for resale either. Like it's all mix and match. So it's one of those things trying to keep it consistent as well.
Just a very quick interruption. If you are getting some valuable information out of today's episode and you want to get a fact sheet, you can actually download that by going to the show notes in the episode. And if you go to the very end, you'll find a link to a website where if you pop some details in, we'll send it to your inbox. Okay.
So what we try and do is we guide you through a direction. So if you like a modern theme, we'll then tie it in with the house and we'll show you what works in that area. So we'll show you through tiles, plumbing fixtures, fittings, Nero, like tapware and that with good warranties, and we'll walk the customer through that way.
Okay. When you start the process from start to finish, for example, how long should it take? I know this is an open-ended question, and it probably depends on the amount of work that you've got to do. But what do you tend to budget for in terms of time?
Generally, a standard bathroom done correctly should take 4 weeks. That's with a frameless shower screen. If you've got a semi-frame, so that's obviously got the chrome or the black around it,
Yep.
Generally you're looking at 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm a homeowner. I've got a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. How do you deal with the
Situation.
Yeah, because of course you still need to bathe, hopefully. So, what do people generally do in that situation? Like, because I imagine that would be a little bit of a hurdle for most people.
It is a little bit, and it's funny you said that. We've had some customers shower with garden hoses before. Not ideal. They're each their own. You can hire showers and you can hire toilets.
Yep.
So you can get them through Kennards, you can get them through Ballarat Hire.
Yep.
They're not that expensive. So for a toilet, it's generally around $750 for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's a setup fee and a declose fee.
Yep.
Shower is roughly the same, and it's got the hot water unit in it. You can go to the next extreme and you can get a hire shower and toilet on a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
They're generally about $3,000.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay.
But there are a lot of different options out there. You can't renovate the bathroom in sections either, which is a lot of people like to wish for.
Yeah.
Because you're going to slow the process down. So you want to do your waterproofing in one go. You want to do your tiling in one go. You can't just do, I'll leave the toilet if it's in the bathroom and go, oh, we'll do that later. It affects every other trade and costs you more money.
Yeah.
So it's just better to get one of those higher portables in.
And I guess if you have family members that live in the area, there's a possibility.
Utilize it.
So,
Yep. Some customers even go to the gym.
Yep.
So they'll shower at gym, or some of the workplaces have showers.
Yeah.
So they'll go to work, have a shower, come home, and they're set.
Okay.
But you still want a toilet, yeah?
Especially if you've got kids and so forth, that can be, yeah. So I suppose if you've got a separate toilet, it makes life a little bit easier. But if you've got young kids and so forth, it can be a real challenge. Yeah. So sometimes it might be better to wait until they're a little bit older and they've got the flexibility to have. Kids don't care about showers anyway, until they get to about teenage years. Anyway, that's another story. Okay, so what elements? Oh, that's just when it comes time to do sort of things like demos or and all that. What are the sort of things that an owner of a property can or should do themselves or could do themselves that is not potentially going to impact on the permits and the quality of the workmanship and so forth?
Demolition's definitely one, but when you're doing demolition, it's good to have a guide either with your builder who you're going with for what they expect you to get done. So you don't get hit them with extra fees for not finishing correctly. Mm-hmm. Painting's always a good one.
Yeah.
A lot of us can just paint.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the rest of it, unless you've got a family member that's licensed to do a trade in that, it's very tricky. You need a licensed sparky, you need a licensed plumber. So the main ones you can do is just demo painting. You could look at getting your own skips or waste removal in.
Yep.
That would be probably the main 3 things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's cover off some of those risks and pitfalls. I think that you kind of touched on that a little bit more. I want to uncover a little bit more about the permit side of things, because that seems to have changed to some degree, and the licensing and so forth.
Yes.
So you mentioned waterproofing.
Yep.
The situation around waterproofing now is that you have to be a licensed waterproofer. How do you get that?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. So you have to be either a licensed builder, limited for bathroom renovations, or you need to be a fully licensed, or you need to be a certified and qualified tiler. There's a license for waterproofing, but it's not fully mandatory. But you do require a compliance certificate for your waterproofing when you do a room. So it's got to come from a tiler and it's got to come from a builder. It's a bit of a grey.
One or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's got to be a tiler or waterproofing, and it's got to be done pretty much from AS 3740, which is the code. So 2022, they did an update.
Yep.
So it's changed quite a lot now. So now you've got these little chrome strips sticking up around your showers. So like if you've got a frameless shower on a walk-in, you got a 5mm little chrome water stop sticking up.
Okay.
And that's for compliancy, and you need that.
Okay.
So it's a frustrating thing, but insurance-wise, you need that certificate-wise. That certificate for waterproofing generally covers you for 7 years.
All right. Okay. So the permit requirements, because I've seen places where properties have had their bathrooms renovated within the last 7 years, and they haven't necessarily secured a permit, building permit to do that. And And the feedback is that, oh, look, it was, under the amount being spent or under roof, it wasn't structural and all that sort of stuff. Let's try and get rid of the grey area of this.
All right.
What is the requirement?
Okay, so for a building permit and for a bathroom, the minute you start touching any load-bearing wall,
right,
you need a permit. Anything structural. So if you're touching the subfloor, if you're cutting in a niche on an external wall,
okay,
if it's bigger than 450, bigger than stud spacing, you need a permit.
Okay.
So if you're adding a bathroom into a house that's not there, and we've all seen it happens all the time, you need a permit. You can't just add a bathroom in. So you need to get the building permit for that bathroom. Right. Got a few customers that go that way, and you have to get the permit. It's going to be an issue on resale.
Yep. Okay. What if the bathroom is already there, though?
The bathroom's there, you're not touching the structural walls and you're not altering anything.
When you say not touching, what does that actually mean? So, for example, if I took the plaster off?
Plaster's fine. Plaster can come off. But if you start cutting out the studs in that wall, that means you're now affecting the structural integrity of the house. Okay. Yeah. So if there's a brace in the wall, so whether it's brace ply or like a bit of metal strip, so hoop iron going through the wall, that's a brace. You're now touching a structural wall. Okay. Even though it's internal, it's structurally bracing the house. That means you need a permit.
Okay.
So if you want to move the bath, let's say 2 meters away, that's a building permit. But if you need to keep the bath where it is and you want to keep the showers the same setup, no permit required.
Okay.
So it's,
But then there's this dollar figure that kicks in. Now, let's say I'm a owner builder and I'm wanting to do, obviously I'm going to use all the trades and so forth. How do we determine what the dollar figure is when it comes to the permit side of things?
Okay. So for anything over $10,000 in Victoria, doesn't matter if you're the owner builder, you actually have to apply for an owner builder building license to do your own renovation. You shouldn't just be doing it. Yeah. So 10,000.
So it doesn't matter whether it's bathrooms or not.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's it. The minute you've got multiple trades, any work something at your house, you should be owner building. Getting an owner builder license is a 6-month course that you have to do, and they'll give you an owner building license. And then
a 6-month course.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
6 months. You've got to go through it. And then pretty much what will happen, that means you get your own DBI insurance out on the job.
Okay.
And you have to do that. So you can't just project manage the work and go, I'm going to save some money. The minute it's over $10,000, that's where the line's drawn in Victoria.
And the $10,000, this is the interesting thing. How is that calculated?
So let's say if you had a tiler and a painter and a carpenter, and that's under $10,000, you still need to have a building license, all right, to do the work, and you still have compliance. If it's one trade, it's not an issue. But when it's multiple trades, it is. And it's not just based on the one trade individually, it's all the trades added. So by the time you factor in the tiler, generally the tiler bathroom to floor to ceiling of 2.4 rooms, it's nearly $6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And you now bring in a plumber, standard price for a bathroom for a bath, vanity, toilet and a shower. That's nearly $4K, depending on whether the plumbing's in that room.
Yeah.
So you're already over your $10,000.
Yeah.
So that's where the line, it goes on the overall value.
It's the cost of materials and the labour.
Yeah, the whole lot.
And the labour, and my understanding was, and I could be wrong with this, so correct me if I am, is that they calculate that if you personally, as the owner builder, were spending 40 hours on doing the coordination, they calculate your time into that exercise. Is that true?
Correct.
So as if you were the builder and what a builder might charge, for example.
And your projects, managing the projects.
Okay. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of the threshold's not that high there.
No.
And with building costs at the moment, construction costs are quite high. So
ridiculous.
It doesn't take much to actually get. So really, for the sake of simplicity, it sounds as if what they've done is that they've thrown these hurdles into place. Use a builder.
Yeah.
Just to simplify the process.
Just to protect. So if you're selling the house and you decide to do it yourself, who protects the next owner?
Yeah.
So that's the issue. A lot of people are renovating these houses, flipping them, and there's no insurances or anything on the work. And then someone's buying in, you're selling houses left, right, and center. They come in, they buy a house, and it's like they've done the building inspection, they've had all that. The warranty's not on the owner, it's on the property. So just because I renovated the bathroom 2 years ago and then I sold the house, I've still got to warranty that house.
Yep.
So as an owner renovating that room, you're still responsible for it for 7 years.
Yes. Yep.
So,
And by way of example, we've had numerous situations where people have done works to their property themselves to, add value to their house, but also to make it a more livable dwelling for themselves.
Yeah.
And then they've come to try and sell the property, and it's created all sorts of problems for them in that process. And it impacts the capacity for us to sell it because buyers are very wary when it comes to that conversation, because they want to know if there are permits accompanying the works that's been completed. And so it is a challenge. It makes it more difficult for the agents to do the job.
Yeah.
And because we need to disclose when we're having conversations with our buyers, material facts. And if there's no permits attached, then we need to tell them that.
Correct.
So especially if they're asked. So
it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. We've had literally in the last 3 weeks, it's a funny topic, we've had 2 customers from 2021 and 2019 reach out to get all their compliancy paperwork from us.
Yeah.
Because they lost it. And it's like they're selling their house. They need it.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, where are you going to get it from?
Where how long do you have to keep that sort of compliance certificates and stuff?
So domestic building insurance is 6 years, but we keep all our paperwork for about 10 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What are some of the other risks? What are some of the other things that I guess there are traps and pitfalls that people need to be mindful of? Obviously, there's the permit side of things. What else could happen?
So just one of the things to be mindful of would be the structural integrity of the room as well.
Okay.
So if you've got water leaks and rot, a lot of people don't account that in their building process. So Silver Peak seems to be the only one that does. A lot of companies don't. So they'll come in, they'll hit you with extras to replace the rotten timber. Mold treatment can add up quite quickly.
Yep.
And that needs to be treated, needs to be pulled out before you can even sheet the walls.
Yeah.
Termite damage from moisture.
Yep.
So leaking bathrooms brings termites in. Termites love moist timber.
Yep.
That's another issue. So you could open the walls up, there could be nothing left.
Yeah, okay.
Older homes, asbestos.
Yep.
It's quite relevant.
Okay.
So that you need to be mindful of. There's a few things in a bathroom.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Especially older ones.
Yeah. The old ones are full of surprises.
Yeah. Have you got some horror stories?
I think the worst one we've walked into had mold mushrooms growing out of the subframe. It had asbestos on the floor, asbestos on the walls.
Yeah.
And it also had termites on the right-hand side wall. So the whole room was structurally deemed. It ended up taking us 6 weeks just to kill it all and termite treat the whole house. It was just
like blow out the costs significantly when that happens.
A little bit. It does. Yeah. With a fixed price contract, you're kind of safe. Obviously there's variations, but it's mitigating those costs as best you can.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have a massive blowout. This client only ended up losing an extra like $5,000 investment.
Yeah.
So, and that was for termite treating the whole house.
Right.
They used to come through the bathroom. They ended up through the rest of the house. Mold treating for the house was only $1,500.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why we incorporate this now into our process.
Gotcha.
But it's quite a severe thing.
Yeah.
And if you've got that mushrooms and the growing and the spores and the mold, you really want it treated, and that spreads under your house.
Yeah.
So slabs, heaps better, but painful to renovate.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Broadly speaking, when it comes to the cost versus the value add, it might be a slightly unfair question to ask you, but you might also be seeing this on a regular basis. What is it like? How much can a new bathroom, the renovated bathroom, kind of impact the value of a home?
I reckon the percentage would be around 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
But I'm no real estate agent, but based on our statistics, that's generally what we see, and that's what we hear from our real estates that we talk to.
Yeah.
You might have a better figure than that.
Yeah. And our experience when it comes to selling properties with renovated bathrooms, because it's always really difficult to know exactly, because you would have to have 2 identical homes, one which wasn't, which were in the same area, and one wasn't renovated and the other one was, and then being able to sell and they have to be sold at the same time, and so it's a difficult one to put your finger on. But generally speaking, a new bathroom makes the property much more appealing because it photographs really well, and it's work that the buyer doesn't have to do. And that's a really important thing for a lot of people. So, it can certainly add a significant value. So there's no doubt about that. We do know that additional bathrooms in houses do make a difference, like one versus two, for example.
100%.
Yeah.
Just having a bathroom in a house makes an amazing difference, especially in the older homes that seem to only have one bathroom, one toilet, and no master bedroom.
Yeah.
Just being a master bedroom in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the budgets that people need to think about when it comes to, because I suspect that's probably the key thing that the majority of people are wondering about. Just scoot a little bit closer so the camera can catch you, mate. When people are looking at a home and they go, okay, well, this bathroom needs to be completely redone.
Yeah.
I imagine that there is, there's an entry level, there's a medium, and then there's sort of like a premium to go forever, for example. What sort of dollar investment should people be thinking about? And no one's going to hold you to this, but just to sort of go through, you'd probably got to start at this level, and then you can go up to as much as, whatever.
Depends on kind of what you're doing. So if you're just doing a reface, changing out the fixtures and the fittings, $1,000 by the time you rip out the fittings, putting new vanities, plumbing and all that sort of stuff. But if you're going to redo the whole room, so generally speaking, it's $65 a square meter for tiling. It's generally an allowance, right? So plumbing fixtures, a bath, it's generally $1,600. A vanity unit can be $1,200 to $1,400. Depends on the styles. Same with the fixtures and that. You can get toilets from $450 all the way up to $600. Generally, what we say for the customers is to budget around $30,000.
Right.
So this generally should cover your trades, and then you might just have to spend a little bit extra on the rest of the room. But then it comes down to stumps, slab.
Course.
So there's a bit of a difference. So whether you're going to do a walk-in shower or a polymarble shower base, like tiled shower bases cost a lot more. They look better. We all love a walk-in shower base, but there goes $900 just to do a walk-in shower. That's not including your tiling and your waterproofing.
Yeah.
So it's probably closer to $1,400.
But if it's properly waterproofed and so forth, how long should that walk-in, because we see them a lot now, obviously, should they have a fairly significant lifespan, or have they got a limited life?
They should when they're done right. The issue with a walk-in shower is people don't slope the rooms to the shower. So we're a backwards state, right? Queensland does it right. The whole room's meant to fall, and Victoria's just brought this in. The whole room's meant to fall towards your shower. So 1:60 to 1:80 ratio towards the shower.
Okay.
So, and then the shower itself's meant to have a fall itself.
Right.
That's the issue. If you have people and the wall slopes away from the shower, and a lot of people just go, oh, the floor's flat, it's level, that'll do.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's an open shower, water can splash further. 1.5 meters, your water will travel from the showers.
Right.
It's quite a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And grout's porous. So unless your builder's sealing the grout, it can seep through and cause issues. So
you can actually have waterproofing on your shower base.
Yep.
And then you are tiling over the top of that. So it can actually go from your waterproofing and then across the floor.
Yeah, catch up. Yeah, it just depends on your shower screen. So if you've got an enclosed shower, not an issue. But if you've got an open shower, it's a massive issue.
Yeah. Okay.
So it just even you walking out the room, the water's just going to sit there. It's got to seep through somewhere, or it's got to dry out from the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can get a bit fancy and chuck in underfloor heating. That'll remove all the moisture. It'll dry up the room, and it'll preserve your bathroom. You should get 20 years out of it.
Yeah.
Most of the bathrooms we've seen are getting 10 to 15 years, but we're getting a lot of new builds that are only lasting 4 to 5 years, and we're ending up with DBI insurance covers and VCAT cases. We deal with quite a lot of that. That's a bit of a shame.
So new homes, I'm saying, there's some real issues.
Yeah.
Some of the newer, sort of the volume build stuff that's been thrown up for investors or first home buyers and so forth, all done at the price.
Yeah.
And there is some real horror stories.
100% there is. The minute you see a built-up shower base on the slab, so if you've got a slab or a built-up tiled shower base, I'd be concerned.
Really?
Yeah. So they run metal around them and they chrome the edges.
Yep.
But even though you've got that fall, once the water goes over that fall, it's just sitting on the level ground.
Yeah.
A lot of those showers we see fail. And one of the other things I'd be keeping out, especially as a buyer, you don't want the shower grate right next to the wall. Okay, a lot of people think it's a clean finish. There's no pizza cut in the tiles.
Yeah.
We've all heated of the pizza cut.
Yep.
Yeah, you want the grate off the wall, at least 50 to 75 mil over the sidewalls.
Yep.
And the back wall, because the water's going to slope away from the wall.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's not going to slope to the wall and possibly go through the waterproofing, because there's different types of waterproofing.
Yeah.
You can go the membrane, the liquid membrane waterproofing.
Right. Yep.
Or you could go to the next extremes like Weedy.
Yeah.
So it's a German-made product.
Okay.
It's foam with foam.
Yep.
Cement with fiberglass wicks.
Yep.
And it's got a 10-year warranty.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a lightweight product. It's very resilient.
And this is the stuff that's on the walls.
You can just set this straight on the walls. Yeah.
What about the stuff that's on the floor?
So you can use it on the floor too.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's got a better durability, and they stand behind their product. It's used worldwide.
Yep.
10-year warranty compared to the liquid membranes only having a 7.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, massive difference.
Yeah. And once the membrane fails, it's like got it start.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So like, let's say, and this happens a lot. We all know this. We've got the bath.
Yep.
And we cut around the bath to replace the bath spout and the mixer.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just patch that one area. You've got to tie the waterproofing back into the rest of it. So then you're pulling more tiles off.
Yeah.
That's a can of worms.
Yeah.
So we get customers every now and then. They're like, "Oh, can't you just patch this one area?" You can't. You can't do a compliance certificate for it. You can't warranty it. You've got to pull the tiles off around the bath.
Okay.
So you want to make sure if you're doing any changes or alterations that you're not disturbing. If there's existing waterproofing, you definitely don't want to be cutting through it.
No. Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to be wrecking it.
No.
On a bright side, there's new tapware now where you can just get a tap body. So like you can get a mixer, and it doesn't have black, chrome, or gold on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a body.
Yep.
And you can get a trim kit that goes over the mixer.
Yep.
So now instead of changing your whole bathroom, you can just change the color of your tapware.
Yep. Yep.
So okay, chrome's always going to be a safe color, but gold's currently back in.
It is. Yep.
Gunmetal.
Yep.
Is a short-lived thing, but if you've got the gunmetal grey, you can take those trim kits off.
Yep.
Put a new gold one in. Put a black one on.
Yep.
Now it's already uplifted the bathroom. It's not going to date it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Without destroying the rest of the room.
And that is, I guess, one of the other things too is that the bathrooms can actually date in terms of the way they look.
Yeah.
Which is obviously why a lot of people choose to engage someone like yourself to help them. So it's possible to get some minor improvements or modernisation without having to go to a complete renovation.
100% it is. Yeah.
And do you do that sort of stuff from people? Occasionally they get in, call you up and say, "Hey, can you come and we just want to lift the quality of the bathroom. It's been a 10-year, it's been 10 years since we've done any work on this." So, and you can just go, "Hey, yeah, we could probably get this done for, a small amount of money without having to replace all the tires and stuff."
Yeah, we do. It just depends on the fixtures and the fittings, like anything.
Of course, yeah.
The vanity size, custom-made vanities makes it a bit tricky.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on an upgrade on a budget. But fixed sizes, 900, 750, 1200, you can just pull them out, swap them in.
Yep.
But that's assuming the tiles and that actually wrap under the vanity. So there's a few grey areas in that you want to look at before you commit to that sort of stuff. You don't want to have grout cut around the vanity.
Yep.
Because now you've got to get a vanity to suit that space, or you've got to get one that's slightly bigger to cover it.
Yeah.
So you can do that, But styling the room is probably the best way to go about it. So if you're going to renovate the rest of the house, focus on where you're heading.
Yeah.
If you don't want to upgrade the rest of the house, so we've got a client, she's got a 70s house. She wants it to stay together. She's going to do like fake marble on the walls, the sheeting.
Okay.
So the wall art sheeting, the 2 4x12 panels up to the ceiling. She's going to do that pathway because she loves the 70s look.
Yep.
And she wants to tie it in with the rest of the house.
Mid-century. It's really in. Yeah,
that's it.
Popular.
And she thinks it's fantastic. And Ballarat area.
Yeah, we got a lot of those.
That's it. And it ties in with the area you're in, ties in with the house, and she's going to do the kitchen the same style.
Yeah.
So it's just about tying it in with your area or your personal preference, but you can't just start and not finish. That's the tricky part when you want to sell. You've got a modern bathroom and a 70s house.
Mm-hmm.
It limits it, but yeah.
What about the half finished job? Let's unpack that. What do you want? Are they the jobs you'd rather not do, or you just basically have to start all over again?
It really depends on where it's at. So if it's not sheeted, you can work with it. You can see the plumbing, you can see the electrical, you can see the wall conditions.
Yeah.
You can check it and fix all the issues before you sheet.
Yeah.
If it's sheeted, you definitely want to be ripping the sheeting out so you can see. Because when you walk into a job, you're taking over the responsibility of those previous people.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's a risk for you, obviously.
Whatever they've done, as a builder,
Yep.
we've got to warranty that for 10 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a pretty complex area to be working in, as opposed to just, plonking a roof on a house. And
It's definitely a fun area.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Mate, we're just about out of time, so we'll wrap it up. But thank you it's been really informative. There's been heaps of information that I've been really curious about. And I'm sure that there's some people listening that have also been, that probably learned something as well. Tell us, how can people get in touch with you, James, and your organisation?
So if anyone wants, they can just reach out to us through our website on silverpeak.com.au or our Facebook. Otherwise, you can just give us a ring on 0401 762 108. Happy to help.
Sure.
As I said, we service all the way from Bacchus Marsh to Ballarat and then across over to Macedon.
Yep.
And we also go over to pretty much Anglesey.
Oh, yeah.
So we do quite a large area.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. We'll make sure we get your details into the show notes for anyone that's interested, so you'll be able to access that by just clicking on the links. Appreciate you coming in today, mate, and making yourself available and giving us some really helpful stuff. So
pleasure to meet you, Stu.
Okay, thanks, mate. Take care. If you have a friend or family member that you feel might benefit from some of the information that you've just heard, then it would mean the world to us if you could share this episode with them personally. Oh, and one last thing before you go. We have some really interesting topics planned for the upcoming episodes, so if you have any comments, feedback, or real estate topics that you'd like covered, I would love to hear from you. So please reach out to us via email, which is info@regionalproperty.show, or leave us a note in the comments section. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to be notified when new episodes are released. I'm Stu Bryan. Thanks for listening.